Welcome to Pharmacy View, Technology and Pharmacy Business podcast series, where we provide regular interviews with pharmacists and key industry people within the Australian pharmacy and associated industry. In each podcast, we look to discuss aspects of pharmacy operation and how technology is improving or interacting with each guest's current role or pharmacy-related business. I'm your host, Scott Carpenter, and today's guest is sponsored by Shopfront Solutions, leading the way in digital marketing and communications, providing a cloud-based platform for pharmacies to manage all of their digital messaging and print-based collateral. For more information on the Shopfront Solutions digital platform, simply go to the website at shopfrontsolutions.com.au. Welcome to Pharmacy View, Technology and Business podcast series, where we provide regular interviews with pharmacists and key people within the Australian pharmacy and associated healthcare industry. My guest today is Bruce Hultgren, founder at theGOYA.life and creator of a world-first Wellbeing app. I did a little bit of research because anything that's healthcare related and has a technology platform attached to it, creates a level of interest for me. Who is Bruce Hultgren?
About 8 years ago, I wanted to develop a software that was everything I wish I had as an athlete. And then now for the past 30 years, everything I wish I had as a coach. So a client-coach relationship or athlete-coach relationship management software. And then it kind of grew to a full-bodied well-being, wellness experience where everyone talks about athletes and coaches and X's and O's, but it always comes back to mindset and what's happening between the ears. I struggle with that, and we all know someone probably in our own heads right now. We're talking about, yeah, that's me, that little voice in your head. So I started developing GOYA, which stands for Get Off Your Ass, because you've got to have fun. So when I put the fundamental things together of you're in the middle and I want to have, goals and tasks and calendars and all those sort of things, I then showed it to a friend of mine who was a teacher, and she goes, we could really use this in schools. And then I went, okay. And then I showed it to a person who's in business, and they said, we could really use this in business. And then I happened to show someone who's involved in men's health, and they said, we could really use this in our program. So we've now got 4 versions. So sport, men, learn for schools, and connect for business.
Excellent. And I think that was what attracted my interest in this as well, because from my history managing national teams that are spread across the countryside, a lot of my time was split between managing the company expectations or the brand expectations, and also, I guess, coaching, mentoring and supporting members of my team, which could have been located across the countryside from Perth to Queensland to Tasmania. I relate that then back to the technology platform. One of my challenges was always getting an understanding of where a person might have been at a particular time of day to offer the appropriate support that they needed that day. And I think that's what I liked about the app that you've shown me, is that the app allows someone in another location interstate to just give me a very quick snapshot on a particular day that lets me know where they're at, if they've had a good day, if they've started well, if they're actually struggling. It would then actually change the way I would support that person, which was what interested me. So can we talk about how the app works itself?
Absolutely. One of the first things we realized when we were developing this was, if you're a coach and an athlete in let's call it a high performance, and you've got that athlete for 2 hours a week face to face, that's 4% of their awake time. And it's like, what happens to the other 96%? So the whole idea was, how can we help this person remotely 24/7? They know that someone cares and that they belong somewhere, so they're part of the tribe. And when we get them to check in through a well-being survey, whether it's a good morning survey or end of day reflection or what's on for tomorrow, it's about checking in so they know that someone's got their back. And what we found a lot in business is people talk about, mental health and there's something wrong. It's like, no, mental health is about health. Like, where are we at with this? Let's make sure that we're good to go. And if there are any little things that we need to deal with, prevention's always better than cure. So if they've had a crappy day, which everyone's going to have, it's like, let's give them some guidance and advice and play on. The golden rule that we work on, there's only 2 places where you need to win: war and surgery. Apart from that, it's just play on and ride the roller coaster. In the team thing that you mentioned about with nationally, we've built it in. So all these triggers and reminders and push notifications where you can literally set it up to be customized for a specific person, to send them a little reminder to do this. So it's there in their pocket.
It's effectively an app on your smartphone, which everyone carries these days. And I think, again, if I just reinforce that point, is that when I was managing a national team, we had corporate business tasks and objectives. that were pushed out or discussed or communicated in a team meeting on a daily, weekly basis. So everyone potentially knew exactly what our priorities or our tasks were and what the objectives that we were looking to improve on. But I'll come back again and I'll mention the fact that certainly from a team leadership point of view, whilst that consumed a lot of time, there was also a significant chunk of time spent coaching and mentoring the team, which is just as important. So to me, this app would sit beside the corporate objectives, and whether within a large organisation, you mentioned that near you is an AMCAL. So if we took Sigma as the example, within a large organisation like Sigma, which is spread across massive divisions and brands in their group, it could become actually part of their HR cultural activity that a leader has this app connectivity to their team on a daily basis that just lets them know that their day's going okay, or actually a confused face that says, actually, I'm not really sure where I'm at today. And I think, again, if I go back to my within a week or within a month, but you never really knew if someone needed support on a daily basis. I always left the doors open for someone to ring me if they needed to, but you kind of got a good gut sense as to where everyone was at. In some cases, you'd have to agree that, people don't necessarily want to chat on the phone about what's just gone wrong, but they certainly would like to let someone know that, hey, I've just had a really bad experience, maybe chat later on today. And ultimately, this simplicity of this app is what would let me, as the team leader, know that. That's the example.
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example of how that worked in a moment. But for someone like Sigma, you could have someone in headquarters. You can break down each of the member groups into teams if you want. So let's say you've got Victoria. You can then have different pharmacies that are their own little teams as well. And then from within that, you can then also get that pharmacy. They can get their customer or their client to use it, or patient, as a reminder to go, you need to take your medication on this day, this day, and this day, this time. Because, in some cases it's life and death. So there's that reminder in their pocket. A classic example of not wanting to talk about it, but have that communication platform. We did a trial at the Under-18 National Basketball Championships about 18 months ago. We've got these young referees in a high-pressure environment. On the very first morning, on the Good Morning survey, one of the referees wrote, had a really bad night, didn't sleep well, feeling really anxious. Now, he put that in his comment, put it in his Good Morning survey. Now, the beauty of what happened was that the manager of the referees saw this young guy walking down the hallway before his first game, and they just looked at each other and nodded. And he says, I've got your back. Like, I hear you. I see you. And then I spoke to that referee at the end of the week, so not a word had to be said. And then at the end of the week, I spoke to that referee about, hey, what was that like being able to do that without having to have the conversation? And he goes, such a relief, because I expressed it. I let him know how I felt. I didn't have to eyeball anybody, but we're on the same page. And it was just like... Yeah, that person effectively knew that the message had been received, and, mate, we're not going to talk now, but I know where you're at, and if you need me, here I am, kind of thing. And certainly, again, if I come back to that, I talk about it from a national team management point of view, but the other example that comes to mind is that if a pharmacist or a group of pharmacists owns a group of pharmacies that could be in Geelong as an example, or actually could be a group of pharmacies spread within Victoria, or could be a group of pharmacies spread across interstate. When you're dealing with that number of people, and certainly the managers, then particularly that pharmacy group, to look at something like this as simple as with their leadership team in each pharmacy. So it might be their senior pharmacists, it might be their retail managers, it might be someone, the stock controls, but it's the key leadership team within each pharmacy location. So again, often the opportunity to do like a check on people as to where they're at, is often hard, because the pressures of business to actually get other things done is the problem. To have, as I said, whether it was a national team like I used to manage, or a pharmacy group with management teams across multiple locations, this would again just open up the opportunity in a very quiet, subtle, and I'll call it easy manner. Because the example that you showed me of the app was that it was very easy. I didn't have to sit there and type a great diatribe. I just had to simply click a smiley face that everything was okay. The questions that you mentioned before, you've got, a template of questions, but if there was a particular business unit that wanted a specific set of questions each day, they could be actually white labeled or customized for that particular business unit. So it could be 2 questions, it could be 6 questions. If you can, I might just also reiterate that point you used before. Originally, when you and I spoke about this, we were talking about team management. I like the example you've given me today about a pharmacy. So pharmacists and their teams are very connected to their community, very connected to their patient, client, customers. There's a couple of programs out there now that
pharmacies use to interact with their clients, particularly around script reminders and your scripts ready. But you're right, I don't think there's anything out there today that says, Mrs. Smith, at 10 o'clock today, you were meant to take this particular drug. Have you done that? And again, I'm going to work on the basis that Mrs. Smith, who's probably got a smartphone these days, could just simply click tick, yeah, all good. Or actually, if the pharmacist doesn't get that tick and then someone gives that customer a call, hey, is everything okay? Now, we're not looking, I guess, as this is a workaround, but people have got to kind of self-manage. But again, there's a lot of lonely individual people out there that pharmacies deal with every day, that this could actually just create another level of interaction that could be really good for that client's welfare. And health and welfare, and that's really what this is about, isn't it? It's using a technology platform to take maybe everything's okay. I haven't really got the time to make the phone call, but I don't really know, to actually opening up this opportunity for someone to just send you a very simple smiley face, which you can quickly look at, that says, yeah, across my 15 customers in this area, 14 of them are okay, but geez, that one actually hasn't come back with a smiley face. So I or someone from the team will give them a call. And how powerful is that in terms of your connectivity with your pharmacy team?
Absolutely. And it's all automated. So everything is white labeled. So if we do have a group, it's literally your app. So your branding, your logos, and just down the bottom of the menu, it says powered by GOYA. That's it. Because we want you to be the hero of the story. And then if you talk to anyone who's been in that lonely mental health space of something wrong, there's typically two things that are missing in their world. Do I belong somewhere, and does someone care? This is what GOYA does, because when I was 17, I was on the verge of not seeing the next day. The only thing that stopped me was I couldn't do it to my parents. And so going back into that and saying, where was I, and how do I stop other people getting into that? It's about, we've built in a communication tool that if you do have a team like Sigma that's got thousands of people, someone can send out a message to all those thousands, but only the sender can see the reply. So it's not group chat. It's a bully-free zone. There's a private journal. And then the task setting, you can set that for individuals, or you can set it for groups or teams, and set goals for everybody as well. So you can literally give someone a place to manage their life away from social media, and then take that with them.
And again, this isn't focused on the corporate goals and financial operational objectives of the business. This, which is very important, has been important for a long time, but even more noticeably important today, is that the well-being of the individual. And if I can, I'll use your sports example, and that is that an elite athlete has to be in the right physical and mind space to actually perform. We see that all the time these days. And really, there's no reason that doesn't also transfer back into a business scenario. If you've got someone out in the field on the road, if their head and body are in the right place, then they actually can have a successful day. And from a business perspective, you might achieve the business goals sooner. But if that person's not in the right headspace and not in the right place in that particular day, then it actually could be a very unproductive day. So there's some really good business links, I guess, coming throughout all of this. What about the case if we did look at the big business scenario, multiple people across teams? How do you manage the fact that some people within a team might see this as obtrusive, within their life? I don't need this kind of thing. So is that manageable within the group as well?
Yeah, I'll share that our first big client is a company that's listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and they're currently using it across Australia and New Zealand, and they're about to take the software up into Asia and then up into the US. So we're already in 9 languages, and you'll have people that won't want to engage in this. And that's just human nature. So all we do is we say, look, we just want you to do one thing. It's a 6-question survey to say good morning, just to check in. Just get in the habit of that. And now it's got nothing to do with your work performance. It's like, how did I sleep? I've got a plan for the day ahead, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever you want to be in those surveys, and you can have as many as you like. So the ones that have a little bit of pushback, you can literally say there's obviously something going on with them where there's a barrier to entry. And we've got some programs coming out that are free that they can actually gently help people along to go, let's find out where that blockage is without being a full counsellor. But the simple rule of thumb is the managers that I've spoken to since and the businesses basically say, you have to do this good morning survey because this is what we need to do to make sure that you're okay. Everything else is your business. Then you must do this 6-question survey that takes less than 2 minutes. And that's the easiest way to do
and again, if say that back to you from my perspective, there was a point in time where I had probably a team of 50 odd people reporting to me. There was intermediary managers. So if I break it down to say 12, I didn't necessarily have the time each morning to ring 12 people and check if you're okay. And a group email would be very obtrusive, so I wouldn't necessarily do that. I mentioned to you before, I wish this app had been available 10 years ago because ultimately, instead of me worrying about, hey, I can't make these phone calls, I kind of just hope everyone's okay. Within a couple of minutes, I can have a snapshot that says 10 of my team are okay, one's having obviously not a great day, and one actually hasn't replied. So again, I'm not now trying to manage a whole lot of information. I'm actually just managing 2 very important chunks of information. So there's potentially 2 phone calls I have to make. Hey, you haven't replied this morning. I'm just checking that you're okay. If it's just a case of time management, I'm all good with that. But I'm just checking that you're okay. And then the other one a little bit later on the day, a text message that simply says, hey, has your day got any better? And that's that point that you made before. It doesn't have to be a big conversation. If someone wants to chat, they know they can. This is really just using the technology platform to let me know that everyone's okay, or they've told me that they're okay, so don't interrupt them, or that, no, someone's having a bad day. And you're right. I think that the more you use that and you get that to become part of the day, then if someone sees it as being obtrusive, well, then they can just answer that everything's okay to every question. Just tick the list and keep going kind of thing. But again, a good leader will soon see through that pretty quickly anyway as well. So
and it's things like, how are you today? Well, I'm crap. I didn't sleep well. My kid's been up sick all night, or the dog died, or something happened. It's like, you just need to know that that person's had a rough night or a rough day, and you're there to support them.
And go from there. Bruce, we're coming to the end of our time, and so just while you check your list of if there's anything else that we haven't covered off, I think what I liked about this was that when we first interacted, I was actually able to go onto your website and book a 15-minute step through of the platform. It may not necessarily make sense to everyone straight away, but if someone listening today is really being challenged by their team and managing the productivity of their team, we'll include the links to your website and also to your contact details in the show notes for this podcast. Having said all of that, was there anything else on your list that we haven't covered off that we thought we should have?
Without sounding salesy, once you see the software and how it works, then you'll know if it's right for you or not. I've shown some people and they've gone, no, that's not for us. It's like, good, make that decision. But once you see the simplicity and how it can be changed to your specs and what you need, most people just go, okay, this is awesome, let's go.
Do this.
So conversation is free. With me, what you see is what you get. So this is pretty much how I talk. And as you and I discussed, let's just take you through it.
Bruce, thanks for your time today. As I've mentioned all along to our listeners,
you're welcome.
Anything that's related to pharmacy, healthcare, and the technology interaction that helps improve things, we're certainly happy to chat. And I've been really impressed with this one. So you've certainly got me as an advocate for it as well now, because I think it's great in today's age.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time today.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. See ya.
Thank you for listening today. Pharmacy View is a technology-focused podcast provided by Melbourne-based business Arian Technologies and Shopfront Solutions. Over the podcast series, our guests include pharmacists, retail managers, wholesalers, suppliers, and industry technology partners. If you would like further information on our podcast series or to participate in one of our episodes, feel free to send me a message or touch base through the Pharmacy View website, pharmacyview.com.au.